Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I'm down in the storage room, trying to see if I can fit all of the games that I actually want to keep in my collection onto this like one shelf here. And that includes all of like my 360, GameCube, like everything. And I have a whole other cabinet over here that has like a whole bunch of like Nintendo, like all the Nintendo stuff is down here. So let me see, like all of the Nintendo Genesis, all that stuff is down here, just tucked away. Not a huge collection of like Genesis games. So I guess it depends on who you ask. For someone who does not have a collection, then this will definitely be a lot of games. Or if you're like a mild collector, this won't be a lot of games. But for the hardcore collectors, this is really not a lot of Genesis games or Super Nintendo games. But these are just the ones that I want to have in my collection. A question that somebody asked me on my channel the other day was, how is it that I afford these games? The thing is that these were purchased over years, one at a time. Some were bought in bulk. Like some of these games I was able to get in a lot, and they just, I kept some and sold some. Some I got for free. Believe it or not, there's a good amount of these games that were freebies for me. And it's just a combination of things. But when it comes to collecting, it's all about consistency. And for me, I've never been a completionist. I've never wanted to complete an entire collection of anything. I've always wanted a very curated collection, which is why I have a small number of Sega Saturn games, a small number of Sega CD games. My Sega Saturn import games are very tailored to what I like, which is primarily shoot 'em ups. I'm a huge hack and slash action adventure kind of guy, which is why my PlayStation 2 library is pretty much action, beat 'em up, hack and slasher. There's not a ton of RPG stuff in here. You're really not gonna see it. Like even down here, there's not a ton of RPG stuff. It's mostly action. Same thing on the GameCube, like mostly action. If you look at my PS3 collection, I mean, this isn't everything, but if you look at it, it's mostly like action. So what I wanted to do though was I wanted to talk about 5 games because, I always get questions all the time, like people DMing me, people reaching out to me on Instagram about things that they should add to their collection. And I wanted to share 5 not so talked about PlayStation 2 games that I think would be great additions to your collection if you're collecting for the PS2. Some of them you may want to put on your wish list because some of them they're more on the expensive end, but they're all top tier when it comes to fun. So the first one I'm going to share with you is a game called Nightshade. If you've played Shinobi on the PlayStation 2, this is pretty much the sequel to Shinobi. It plays a lot like Shinobi, and the main character in this game is basically like the yang to the main character in Shinobi's Yin. I can't remember what his name is. I can't remember what the main character in Shinobi's what his name is, but she's basically the female version of that. Both games are extremely tough. These are both very high energy, fast-paced action adventure hack and slash games, but there's a lot of platforming in both of these games, and they're not easy at all. Both of these games are very difficult. But I like the fact that you can do air combos, air hack and slash attacks. Like I said, very fast paced. This is a very fun one. You can do chain attacks, anything like that. For me in this era, like the PlayStation 2 era, these are games that definitely caught my attention. A lot of people feel like these games are like, they sometimes can be repetitive or like mindless button mashers rather. But I think these games are a ton of fun. This is one that I would definitely recommend you looking into. Nightshade. Shinobi is a lot cheaper. Shinobi I think is like a $10 or $15 game, and they play very similarly. Nightshade is just, I think it's a little more rare. You don't really see this game a lot, but this is a good one, so definitely check it out. The next game is going to be Red Ninja. And by the way, these are all going to be hack and slash games. So if you're a fan of like fast-paced hack and slash games, that's what these are. Still definitely recommend you check them out. The next game I would recommend is a game called Red Ninja. Look at that. This game was $6.99 at GameStop. This game, I know at one point this game was touching like $80. I don't know where it's at now. Maybe it's at 50 or 60 bucks now. I think at one point this game was actually touching $100 if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where this is at now. Someone let me know down in the comments, but this one's a little bit different. This one is a hack and slash game, but it incorporates a lot of other things into it as well. Red Ninja incorporates kind of like a stealth aspect to it. You have different ways that you can move throughout this game, and like a Tenchu kind of stealth style is one way that you can move throughout the game. She also has this move set where she can kind of like seduce like enemies, but I think it can only be like one enemy at a time. She can kind of like do this move that like seduces them, like draws them in, and then she can kill them and then drag their body away. And then the other thing that I think is really cool about this game is that there's almost like a bullet time aspect to it, where you can kind of slow things down and give yourself a better chance to attack enemies. So this is a pretty cool one. Red Ninja is definitely interesting. I would see if you can find this out in the wild. If not, I put it on the wish list. I know this one was expensive. Again, I know at one point this was like $100 game. Maybe it's back down to like 50 or 60 bucks. I don't know. But this is one that you won't see too often in the wild, but one that I definitely recommend. Red Ninja on the PlayStation 2. Next up is Samurai Jack. So if you grew up watching Samurai Jack, if you know about Samurai Jack, this is one that I definitely recommend you looking into. This is just a fun hack and slash game. He's got a bunch of moves that you can learn. There's a bunch of like cool stages. There's a ton of nostalgia packed into this game just from the cartoon show. And it's so funny when it comes to these Samurai Jack games, even the ones that were released on like the Switch, those are expensive too. Samurai Jack 2 is a little bit up there. The Shadow of a Coup, I think this is like a $40-50 game. This is not one you're going to see too often, but it's definitely one I recommend if you're a fan of the hack and slash style. It's not as serious as like a Red Ninja or Nightshade. Those are more serious hack and slashers, but this is one that I would definitely recommend you looking into if you are a fan of the cartoon and you want to try it out. Next up, so this one is actually really cool. Samurai Western is a game that I really am glad to have in the collection. This is one of the few hack and slashers that's fun, and you can play one or two players. So there's a two-player aspect to this game, which makes it a little bit unique. And I'm a real fan of that. If you play it as a one player, I think you can only play as the main character, who's the samurai. But if you play as in a two-player mode, one person gets to be the samurai, the other one gets to be the Western gunman. So, but a ton of different weapons that you can use in this game, a bunch of levels, a bunch of skills that you can practice, move sets that you can learn. It's not so much about button mashing. Like some of these other hack and slashers that I've shown you, the move sets are pretty basic, but there's a lot more variety in Samurai Western. Look, you can even see it here, right? So over 100 unlockable items, 25 playable characters, 70 accessories, 20 weapons. So there's just so much variety in this game that makes, building your attacks and going through and attacking enemies a lot more fun. And this is one, I feel like because of that, this has a lot of replayability. But Samurai Western is definitely a hack and slasher I would look into if you're wanting to check out hack and slashers on the PlayStation 2. This one is definitely expensive. I'm not going to front. This one's got to be at least 150 probably. I'm not even sure where this game is at now, but this one's one of the more expensive adventure action games on the PlayStation 2, but one that I definitely recommend. Check it out, Samurai Western. Not one that you hear talked about a ton, because I think this game gets overshadowed by the next game that I'm going to show you, which takes everything this game does to a whole new level. And that is Blood Will Tell. So Blood Will Tell, I think, is one of the more popular, if not the most popular, hack and slash game on the PlayStation 2. Blood Will Tell, the thing that I love about Blood Will Tell that I think sets it apart from the other hack and slash games that I've talked about is a lot of those games are pretty linear, whereas Blood Will Tell has a much bigger open world feel to it. So that's what makes this game just so much more different. And then the storyline behind this game is actually cool too, because like It's been a while since I played this game, but I think this guy's like trying to get his body parts back. And with each body part he gets back or something like that, he has like each body part comes with like another attack. It's just ton. Let me just read the back. Let me stop making stuff up. It's been a while since I played this game, but yeah, yeah, each unique abilities. It's been a while, but I believe like this is a dude who like lost his body parts. He's trying to get his body parts back, and with each body part, you learn a new weapon. You're trying to reclaim your humanity. But the big thing for me with this game is the open world aspect. Much more broad. It feels much bigger, much more broad than just your standard hack and slasher on the PlayStation 2. And I think the move sets, like the move sets that you can do, the weapons, the attacks that he has in this game, the moves that you can learn in this game with each body part that you gain back and with each skill that you pick up, that fighting just becomes even more intense and it just pulls you in even more. Blood Will Tell is definitely a classic. Now, this is probably one of the grails that I have in my collection. It's not the most, by any means, it's not the most expensive game in my collection, but Blood Will Tell is a very expensive game. This game is going to run you at least $350 if you're looking for it today, which, believe it or not, is actually a huge discount from where it was during the pandemic. Because during the pandemic, this game was like almost $500 like at one point. So now it's back down to $350, but that's still really pricey for this game. So yeah, I mean, if I had to choose out of the 5 that I'm showing you now, if you want to put 2 on your wish list, I would say Samurai Western and Blood Will Tell for sure. These are 2 top tier PlayStation 2 hack and slashers. And then the other 3 are definitely great games to play if you're not wanting to spend that kind of money. But let me know what you think. Let me know if any of these tickle your fancy, if you're into hack and slashers, if you've heard of any of these games before. I'll be back with you with a better video later on this afternoon, just having some different types of topics. I'm trying different topics on the channel. I'm trying to start conversation rather about, other things that are impacted by video games or other things video games impact. And I've been getting some good comments and some good feedback on some of those topics. So we'll continue the conversation a little bit later on this evening. And until then, I'll catch you. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.